What's up, everybody? Caleb here. I got another video for you this week. This week I decided to make something from a game that came out a long time ago, actually. It's a game that I really loved, Dead Space 2. This is the engineering helmet from it. This is Isaac Clarke's, I think it's the first suit that you get in Dead Space 2, the first engineering suit. There's a lot of different suits and helmets in that game. But I wanted to make just the base helmet from the second game because I want to eventually make the copper base helmet from the first one. So this is all foam. It's a lot of 5mm and 10mm. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's just the two. 5 and 10mm. 3 different types of paint. It was a pretty fun build to do, and then I decided to put lights in it. You'll see that in the video how I did it. I used just a cheap remote controlled LED kit. I bought it from Five Below. It's supposed to be for your TV and your computer. If you put it like on the back of your TV and computer, it glows on the wall. It's a $5 kit. I'm starting to see them at other places if you don't have a Five Below. I've been seeing them lately at like Walmart and even, I think I saw one at Marshall's the other night. But it's pretty cheap. And the nice thing about the this LED kit is that it has all these different colors. And it has a lot of different settings, flash settings, strobe settings, slow settings. You really can use it for anything. But it's just another nice feature to have for this helmet. And I think it came out pretty good. Pretty happy with it. I'm going to hang it up on the wall in my office. And let's get to the video and I'll show you how I made it.
Guys, so this week I don't have my own blueprints. I used a Pepakora file. I will put the link to where I got the file in the description below. Basically when I'm using Pepakora files, all I do is I have it up on my computer and I try to like label them as best I can. And I cut them out of the paper and I just trace them onto some foam. I think here I'm using some 5mm foam for the base of the helmet. The Pepakora files, it's made for paper mostly, so there's a lot of trying to figure out how to make it into foam, because foam is thicker than paper, so it's a lot of figuring out like what layers you need and don't need, because obviously with paper, like if it's a 3D shape, it's folded, it's folded a few times to make like a corner, and with foam obviously you just cut that shape out and it's already it already gives you that thick 3-dimensional corner shape. So there's a lot of videos on YouTube that will kind of show you how to take a Pepakora file and make it into a foam file. I might do a video on that at some point. But for now I'm just cutting out all of these patterns from this file, and I will just be tracing that onto some foam. What I'm cutting out now is just the base of the helmet, so like the side and the back and the very top of the helmet. So here I am cutting it out of the 5mm foam. There's also guys that will use Pepakora files and then they will tape the paper together and then trace it flat on the foam, so they don't have all these darts. But with this helmet particularly, there's a lot of pieces that go on top of it, the base helmet, so I wasn't really worried about seams and hiding seams and stuff. So I just cut the patterns out for how they were. I gave a little bit of extra length off of certain parts of the pattern where I knew other things would be glued onto it. I'm just using a lot of scrap foam that I've had laying around. That's why I have different color stuff. I'm just trying to get rid of stuff. I have small offcuts here and there from other stuff, and I hate wasting it, so I'm just trying to use as much of that as possible. So this piece is like the very top of the head. It's recessed off the top of the helmet. You can see the pen lines I have on the outside of it. That's where the helmet gets glued on top of it. This is the back of that piece. So then that goes right there on the back. It's basically the center of the helmet. I believe this is the side piece. This is the like lower side piece. You see this piece has a lot of darts and cuts that has to go together. That whole thing will eventually fold together all on itself, which can be pretty tricky. It's kind of annoying to glue too, but if you just take your time and make sure you're getting glue on at least the top part of the cut so that'll stick together, you should be alright. I think even this on my first time here, I didn't glue this piece at all. I didn't realize that it glued together on that side there, so I had to go back in with some glue later. You can see that it's still not glued together properly there, and then I glue it to this piece already because the glue was dry, and if you leave contact cement for too long, it won't stick anymore. So I glued up everything that was glued first, and then I went back through and made sure I glued that piece together. This is like the back part. This is the part that goes from the back of the neck to like the front of the jaw. And this was one piece on the template, but I cut it where the tan foam is. That's where I cut it on my template so that I could fit it onto my foam. I couldn't get the full piece to fit on the scrap foam that I had left, so I sliced it there so I could use as much foam as I could. now I'm trying to glue that together, figure out where that goes. This is like the very, very bottom of the helmet. This is like the neck seal piece. You can kind of see how it's already kind of taken shape into a like half helmet. So then that middle piece glues underneath that helmet, like I was talking about. That's why I have those. That's why I cut extra on that piece where my pen markings were, so that this helmet would glue onto the top of it. So I make sure that I glue the helmet to that metal piece first before I put glue on the back of the helmet. This takes a little bit of effort to pull and manipulate the foam to get it to line up to your markings. And I didn't want the back of the helmet to touch each other and accidentally stick and not come apart. So then I glue the back of the helmet together after that. Start from the top, and then I glue towards the bottom, and then if it's a little bit long like that, I just squish it so that they meet each other. It's a nice thing about foam is you can kind of manipulate it how you want. So this is part of the front now. The front like vent panels that go in the front. This is the top part. This gets glued right on the top of the helmet. So you can see I glue the very center first to make sure that it's centered, and then I will glue one side down before I stick the other side down. This is the very bottom piece. It has an inlay piece that's 5mm foam. The vents themselves, I did mention there, the 10mm floor mat foam. I wanted them to be a little thicker, just because I think it looks a little better. I pre-marked these with my pen too, where I want these to glue on. It's a lot easier to do that than to guess. So then I use my rotary tool and I just go around and I clean up the seams that I know you're gonna see. So obviously this middle seam here you're gonna see. Even these side seams that you're not gonna see, I made sure that they were smooth. Even if you're putting a foam on top of them, sometimes if your seam is really bad, it'll show through the foam on top. It'll kind of warp the foam that goes on top of it. So I just quickly go through and knock it down, make sure it's flat. So then I glue the bottom piece on. Now I can go around the outside and start putting the outside details on. So I start with the side of the helmet. And I try to mark one side and glue it on, and then I try to like turn the helmet and look at it and try to use seam lines to measure out and make sure that it's symmetrical on the other side as best I can. I mean, you're never gonna get it 100%, but if it looks good, then nobody will be able to tell that it's off a little bit. Those square little round pieces that I put on the top, though, those are 6mm with 2mm foam glued onto them, just to make them a little bit higher than the helmet piece itself. And I'm going through here now, and these are all of the front pieces that go on the front, like grills, like the eye grill or vent, whatever you want to call them. So I go through and I cut all these out now. In fact, these are all the pieces for the rest of the helmet for one side. That bigger piece is for the back helmet. It goes on like the top. And so these little front detail pieces get these little squares glued onto them. And then I make sure I glue all these together. This piece goes on the very back of the helmet. This is like the, I guess it's like a neck guard or something. So there's all of the pieces for the rest of the helmet. I like to lay them out like that so I know exactly where they go and what side is which. And they're all pre-glued, so I can just pick them up and start gluing them down. So this top piece gets lined up with the bottom of that vent. And I went through and I pre-marked all of these with a pen just so I knew exactly where they went, so I could just grab in place. It makes it so much easier and so much more efficient and faster to do it that way. And you can really see the finished product starting to come together when you start putting all these detail pieces on. I use some super glue for the smaller pieces. It's a lot easier to use super glue than it is to brush contact cement on both sides of really small parts. Obviously the bigger parts are a lot easier to glue with contact cement, and you get a more stronger bond with a bigger surface. So these pieces I marked, and they take a little bit of work to kind of squish it and manipulate it around the around that piece on the side, with also trying to be lined up with that groove there in the middle. So I make sure that is lined up first. I tack that corner down. Then I can go through and like pull it to where my line is. On this back of the helmet, I kind of I cut 2 V grooves in the very back where the pen lines are on the front, just to make it have a square shape when it's folded. Then I just fold it slightly, glue it in place there. And then here you can see I am gluing the side down just to keep it snug. These are some 4mm pieces of foam. They're like, I don't know if they like are supposed to hold the vents together or stabilize the vents. This is the very back of the helmet. Again, this is like another neck guard or something. It's kind of why I love these helmets, is because there's so many like different interesting pieces and shapes that like go on them to really give you that like space engineer feel. And I'm putting the front pieces on. Now I'm using Plasti Dip to seal. It's very important that you use warm water to soak your Plasti Dip paint in before you spray it. It will spray so much better. It won't clump up, and you can see how smooth it sprays. So I definitely recommend doing that with all spray paint, is warming it up in water first. A little bit of warm water for a couple minutes should be fine. Now I'm spraying the base coat on. This is some hammered gold bronze. I don't know the actual name of the color, but it's one of those hammered paints, so it gives you that hammered metal texture. I really like this base color. I wanted to keep it this color, but I did not. So I ended up using that base as just a textured layer. And I'm using my airbrush here, and I'm just spraying on some gold acrylic. I just had some gold craft acrylic paint, and I just watered it down and sprayed it through the airbrush. I'm spraying this on all of the base helmet. It's really hard to get a good grasp of what colors the helmet is in the game. You can see I'm looking at a reference there. It's kind of hard because the game is dark, and every picture you look at is different, and even like original design pictures are all different. So after the gold is on, I go through and I paint black. This is black acrylic on everywhere that I want the gunmetal to be. It will help the gunmetal show through a lot better, and it will cover a lot easier. So when that black is dry, I go through and put on some gunmetal. I made this gunmetal by mixing up some silver paint with a little bit of black, and it gives you like this nice metallic-y gray gunmetal color. You can make it darker or lighter just based on how much black you put in it, obviously. So then I just go through and I paint all that gunmetal, all the black parts I paint gunmetal, which is really fun. You get to paint them twice. It's really time consuming to paint all these panels and all of like the edges of the panels. So then I'm going through now and I'm doing some copper. This is gold paint mixed with orange paint and a little bit of bronze metallic. And it ended up giving me like this really nice dark copper color. When I was first painting it, I didn't like it, and then at the end of it, I realized that it actually looked really good. This is a Pepsi bottle, 2-liter Pepsi bottle. I cut the plastic off, and then I sanded the back of it. I sanded in these circular motions to kind of diffuse the light, and I just glued that inside the visor piece. So now I'm going through with some dark brown, a little bit of black mixed in, watered down, like way watered down. It's just a dirt wash, and I'm just rubbing that on the entire helmet. These helmets are always dirty. They get really dirty. Being out in space, there's a lot of dust and debris and dirt and grime and all that kind of stuff. So I just lather the helmet with it. swipe it off of the rag to like the corners. Mostly trying to get it in the corners and the grooves, recesses, and all that stuff. And then I go through with some tester's silver paint, and I'm doing edges, I'm doing streaks and lines across the helmet to give it like scratches, and I do that on everything, all the different colors, because I assume that the helmet itself is metal, and then it is either painted or what's the word? Not iodized, but like dipped in different metals to give it that copper and bronze. So if it gets chipped or scratched, it would be the metal underneath. So that's why I'm going through and I'm putting the silver on everything just to make it look like there's metal showing through. Again, these helmets get really beat up and abused and damaged, so I am doing way more than normal for me amount of damage and chipping and scratching and that kind of stuff. And I think it came out pretty good. It's easy to overdo this, but it ends up giving it a lot of nice like textures and focal points when you're looking at it. So after the silver is done, I go through with a black wash, and you can see that I've done a lot of black in the front of the grill there, and I pull it down to make it look like it's dirt is dripped down. But then I also go around and I kind of outline some of the silver parts that I painted, just to make it look like it's dark around the silver. That adds a little bit more metal effect. I do that around the whole thing. And I think that just that little bit of extra detail really pulls it together. I even go around with that brush too, and I do like the grooves and the cracks and crevices all the way around it. So this is my lights. I glued these. This is a USB LED remote kit. I just glued those in the top of the helmet. I'm not going to be wearing this helmet. It's just going to be display. This is a little battery pack. I use it to charge my phone and a lot of like my headphones and stuff at work. These are super cheap now. And then I just plug the lights right into this battery pack. You can pull this battery pack out and charge it, you know, when the battery is low, and then you can just plug it back into your lights and put it back in. So it shouldn't drain too fast, and it's not like this is going to stay on all the time. It'll be, you know, on in whenever I want it to be, like displayed on the wall. And that's it, guys. That is the engineering helmet from Dead Space 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you liked it, and let me know if you want me to see anything special. And I'll see you next week.